All right, it is that time. What's up, you hobby degenerates? It's the Monday morning live show, and we are doing the monthly free episode. If you've never been to one of these before, this is a show that we do every Monday and Wednesday. We alternate back and forth Mondays and Wednesdays because sometimes people can't make them on GMG with the patrons, where we hang out, talk hobby, talk about the world of tabletop. And what is new and exciting and going on. And then once a month, every month. What's wrong with me today? Jesus, I'm so broken. We do a free episode so that the folks of the YouTubes can hang out and see what it's like for the Clio patrons who hang out behind the thing and watch me slowly unravel as the world explodes. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. It's Monday. So you might have a case of the Mondays. If you do, this is your hobby medicine. This is the sweet nothings. You guys can, all you hobby perverts, can come and watch me dance like a monkey and ask me questions and see what's been going on. I'm going to say hi to the chat, talk about what's been going on this week, and then we'll do some current events, take some questions from the patron mailbag, and then go and take some questions from everybody else in the chat. We kind of hop back and forth. I usually go for about an hour. Until I'm out of water, like until my shaker cup's empty, and I've lost the ability to talk. I'm sitting here in the studio on a Monday, feeling pretty good. It was a pretty good weekend. I finally got to slow down after like 5 weeks of madness, and I got a bunch of stuff out of the project queue. Bob and I did. If you haven't watched it, Bob and I did the wonderful. The Armor Clash, which I truly enjoyed. It was a fantastic game. We got to paint up and do like a whole bunch of just kind of like scale terrain. If you guys didn't see this from the GMG review and all the other stuff that we were doing, this is like a 10mm war game from the folks over at War Cradle Studios in their dystopian wars universe, which is sort of like a late 19th century, like 1870s to 1890s world where we discover a whole bunch of alien technology, and it leads to some interesting developments in like mechs and tanks and shit. So the aesthetic is all very like Victorian era, but the world has like lasers and floating helicopters and shit. And it was super fun. Bob and I had a really good time. He painted up the Empire. I painted up the Crown. And then, and we threw down some games from the starter set. You can see the review. It's up right now, about the actual like quality components and stuff like that. But if you're coming out of the GW hobby and looking for a, if you're looking for a game that's like comfortable to try out in the indie sphere and like the sphere of like games that you maybe not have tried before, then this is probably going to be it. It's pretty easy to get into because everything is going to feel familiar. Like the actual quality of the plastic's entirely the same. The miniatures are fantastic, and you get a shitload of stuff in there. An absolute ton of stuff in the box set, which I really enjoy. So yeah, there's the sort of like thing I was working on primarily last week, and that got me finished, like that project, which I'll be honest, I've been working on for so like it had been sitting staring at me for so long, and I was feeling all guilty about it, that it's just nice to have it done and have it like on the table and show off, because I really like James. I like his design aesthetic. I like what he makes. He's the author of Titanicus, Necromunda 2018, a whole bunch of other games, along with Sophie, who's his like co-designer. And they do like a ton of like just very cool stuff. So I like supporting designers I like. And in the indie sphere, he did Fallout Tactics too, if you guys haven't seen that. Not Fallout Tactics, Fallout Factions, Nuka World. He did that as well. So a lot of cool stuff from them. And then I also got to unbox and do a review, if you didn't see this, of the Gale Force 9 new Battlefield in a Box terrain, which was bananas. Extremely cool, like woods and hills. I had some of the hills already, the Altean Steppes. But it got Jay and I excited about maybe doing some Battletech stuff, because I know that there's some Snords Irregulars in the new Kickstarter, which he was super excited about. And that means I would have an excuse to paint other things too, because I haven't painted, like painting scale stuff, like painting little scale models, like the the Armored Clash stuff just made me want to play more Battletech. If I'm being honest, like it made me want to paint more robots. Paint a little infantry, maybe want to paint little robots. Maybe I'll reach out to Randall and the guys at Catalyst and see what's going on with the Battletech stuff and do something there too. It would be super fun to do, and we of course like that. And I can also of course paint up my mechs for Death Rays, Steel Rift, because I have like the two new. I painted one of them. I painted the Samurai ones, but I haven't painted the Gunfighter team, and I wanted to paint the new 2-player starter set as well. So maybe I'll paint that in the meantime while I'm waiting. We'll play some more Steel Rift. You know, I wrote the game. I should probably play it more often than I do. So that's what the week's been like. Let's go say hi to the chat, see who's hanging out, see what is going on over there. We've got going up to the top. Oh my God, it's gotten away from me. Also, oh my God, super chats. Thank you, Andrew B. Hi everyone. I won't be around today because I got called into work. Salary life is trash, yo. Ash, make sure to pimp the Patreon later, y'all. Thank you, Andrew. Andrew's so much better at talking with the Patreon than I am. And I'm going to, my kids will starve over the, holidays if we don't. So I should talk about the Patreon more. They like living indoors and eating food and stuff. And then, oh, Ben, payment number 38 for friendship. Dude, you never have to pay me for your friendship. I love you, buddy. And I'm so excited that hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Ben hasn't been in a while, and he's got like a grandbaby that he's been taking care of and another grandbaby on the way. So, obviously he has been super busy, and I hope we get to catch up soon, but it's great to see everybody hanging out. So Malev's here, taking time away from his busy schedule of writing all the things. Chase is here, Ignovis is here, Gary Lee's here, Captain Ferret's here, Ryan Dunphy's here, all my Clio patrons, Steve Yates is here, the Gazman's here, Alan Newdall's here, Angry Pants, Split Infinity's here. Hey, I never make it on time for this. Well, I started an hour late, so maybe that helped you. Mike Grimshaw's here. Tobias Newman's here, Triple Digit Games is here, 25-25 for life. I'm just going to say it. I'm getting out of the way. We're not going to play games today. And then Captain Ferret's got his first question, but I'm going to take that in a minute. Tobias is here. Phoenix Ignite is here. Terry Halo's here. Gregory Ratray's here. Explosion. Skim Glued's here. Leighton Rosen's here. Who else? Mike Forston's here. Utini de Killer Jawa's here. Utini! That's amazing. I had to take a second to figure that one out. Dan Fox here. Dude, going down. Going down. Jess Hunt's here. I'm trying to see names I haven't said yet. I'm losing it now. Matanuska Mechworks is here. Gaius Caesar's here. Liam Fishwick's here. I think I got everybody who's here so far, but I'll try and keep up in the chat in a bit. And say hi to some folks. So I'm going to go to the mailbag real quick. Oh, we're going to skip the chat. I forgot the chat's on the screen now, so I need to go back down so everybody can keep seeing the chat as that comes through. But let's go to the mailbag real fast and take some questions. So I think one of the questions in the chat actually from the patron mailbag is just the first question in here. So I'm going to go to the first one from the big patron questionnaire document, which we have one floating question. So like one of the things that it may be alarming / disconcerting for those of you catching this live who aren't patrons, who don't get to do this every week, we do a lot of bits. Like there's a lot of there's a lot of runners in this TV show. Yeah, just recurring things. It's kind of turned into It's Always Sunny in St. Catharines, where they like to make me do bits. And one of the bits is the mailbag. Sometimes somebody and this is like the most relatable thing about me and the patrons, is that we all realize that we're all kind of insane. So like when one of us dissociates and just like forgets what they're doing for a minute, of which I'm like the biggest, most guilty party, which means people like help a lot, like what we just saw with Andrew having to remind me to talk about the Patreon. Marky Battle Bassett forgot to finish his question for the last 3 weeks, and so the first question in the question mailbag is just Marky Battle Bassett asking ... and then us adding in comments that keep going. So Brian Grant says at this point we should just assume Marky is dead because he never came back to finish his question. And then Nick said legend has it he's stuck in a cryosleep waiting to be resurrected by 2 warrior women in 501 years, which is a reference to a TV show that you guys will hear about a bunch. And then I put down I still believe he'll return someday like my dad with those cigarettes. So that's always going to be the first question that we have in the mailbag because we do runners on this show. The writing for this show is starting to it's starting to unravel. But the next question, which was something that came up in the chat, was Matt F asked, growing up in your 40K, following up my 40K comments, which was from the live show last week. where we were talking about like if Games Workshop got rid of one product line, what do I think it should be? And I basically just said Warhammer 40,000. They shoved the balls to actually get rid of it, and the most grimdark ending for 40k would just be that like it was an abandoned galaxy and it was always fucked, and the Emperor was just like he was the last one trying to save it basically. And that was my opinion, was just like, just get rid of it, just completely, just like plow it under and start over, do something new, make a Warhammer the old world version of Warhammer 40,000 and just start a new proc line. That's just another galaxy. Like, it doesn't make any sense in Warhammer 40,000 that we haven't left the galaxy. Do you understand? Like, if warp technology works the way it works, the biggest cognitively dissonant part of it is you can just parallel exist in two places at the same time using the warp. You can exist in multiple places in time at the same time. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you can't just walk on a door in one galaxy and then walk off a door in another galaxy. Like, you should just be able to exist in 2 points in space-time. So either our galaxy is just like the shit galaxy that everyone left and like left behind, or fundamentally there's just like too many questions to like the way warp drive works and stuff. So, yeah, my whole, like, the only, like, explanation I've ever heard that makes that make sense is we can only exist where human consciousness existed. So, like, you can only enter and exit the warp where there's other human consciousness, but that doesn't make any sense because there's planets that don't have human consciousness and other species use warp travel. So, like, again, just it breaks down. So now the actual question, do I think that modern technology can enable GW to put out decent quality one-piece models, perhaps even vehicles, and could it move towards that along with the renewed emphasis on like comp patrol size games, create an easier entry point to the system? I think that's the entire point of getting rid of Warhammer 40,000. Like, you start from scratch. You have the Tyranids wipe with the galaxy. You could have some callbacks, some throwbacky stuff, like kind of like Gotrek in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, where there's like survivor fleets that flee, you know what I mean? And they're the weirdos now, like they're the weirdos that survived the grimdark part of Warhammer 40,000, and then just focus on whoever left during like the Dark Age of technology and like just went to other galaxies. Because there's got to be human civilizations just out there, extragalactic civilizations. If the Tyranids exist, and then like other things exist, and we left the galaxy and they're just hanging on to it for some reason. Yeah, that's it. Like, that was just a follow-up question, which was kind of one that I think was important. So let's go back to the chat and ask some. That was some like free associating there to get to a long story short. Let's get some questions from the actual chat and see what's going on. So we've got happy FREE-PISODEs. Captain Fairlight, do I have an opinion on Trench Crusade? We actually talked about Trench Crusade the last 2 weeks. And what's funny is Chris and Jay, I think we're probably watching this. Chris is probably watching this right now from Loads of War Games and Hobbies. Just shout it in the chat if you are, Chris. If you're lurking, which I know you are, because I know you're a patron, just fucking say something. They did a bit on Trench Crusade because they've had some people coming to the shop too and asking about it. And I think my thing that I would compare Trench Crusade, if you guys want like a historical sort of like analog to Trench Crusade, I would look at the Kickstarter for Kingdom Death. Kingdom Death is probably the closest thing sort of like artistically to Trench Crusade, where it's fairly adult. It's not for kids. It's not it's trying to recruit from the like experience side of the hobby. So it's not going to necessarily be for new hobbyists. It's definitely not for children, or even young teens. Like, it's a very dark, like steeped in Christian mythology, which is, again, just, you're automatically going to remove some people from your possible customer base by doing that. And I'm not putting a value judgment on that. I'm just saying that that's just going to happen. That is like artistically incredibly powerful, right? They got together like a bunch of great artists. Paul Bonner's doing the cover, which, if you don't know a lot about Paul Bonner, he's done some of the greatest tabletop wargame covers of all time. Just look up his credits. He's done Confrontation. He's done Mutant Chronicles Warzone. He's done like an absolute like just hit after hit. Like, the dude doesn't miss when it comes to doing game covers. They got him doing the book cover. And then the like, you know, the writing's obviously being done by Thomas. He's done like a really simple rule set for it that's got lots of like room for special rules. Like, the core mechanic is like 3 stats. Like, it's a super simple like core set. And then they've left room to like just add bespoke factions to it, you know, like weird subsets and stuff. So they made what, $3 million in their crowdfund, which is great. It'll let them work on it like probably close to full time. It means that people can dedicate like a good chunk of their lives to it. But if they're smart, because remember, a lot of $3 million is going to be delivering the crowd fund, because if you make $3 million and you have X number of people, the largest proportion of that $3 million goes to like, let's say $2 million of that's going to go to fulfilling the crowd fund, between making the components, assemble, like you have to pay someone to build it, package it, pay all the artists, pay all the writers up front for their manuscript and whatever. And then you have $1 million left over. And let's say you still need those 10 people to make the next thing you're going to make. If they're going to work on it full time, 10 people at $1 million is $100,000 each. So that means that 10 people have to be having to make $100,000 each for 1 year. It sounds like a lot of money until you actually try and make a company out of it. And then what you do is you've basically bought yourself 365 days to make $3 million again. If you need all 10 of those people to work full time on it. And to make a really high quality product, you need at least 10 people just to do fulfillment. You need a full-time person. Cause think about the fact that while they're let's say 5 of those people are writing and building the next game, 5 of them are going to be handling the ordering, packaging, 5 are working full-time on delivering, 5 are working full-time on making the next thing, and they leapfrog year on year. So you need to make that money every single year. And as you can kind of attest, the more successful you are, the more you have to invest in on kind of leapfrogging that success over and over again. So it's not going to be a surprise if that happens. It's funny. Jim Kerman just said, which is going back to the 40K thing. Jim Kerman said, Uncle Adam basically theorized that he wouldn't be shocked if he morphed into a full IP company, movies, apps, shows, and books, and stopped selling minis altogether in 10 years. That's funny because that's what I told him when he was here. It's funny that he's now of that opinion because I was the one that said that to him when he was here in the summer. So I don't know how recently he said that, but I was the one basically saying that to him when he was sitting in the studio. And I think we even said it in the sit and chat in that little live show. So that's my opinion on Trench Crusade. I think they're going to end up with a team that delivers a really great product in the next year or so. And then they're going to find whatever their comfort level is, because they're not going to do $3 million again. They just won't. You can't. On what their offer is, you couldn't make another $3 million on the expansion without also going to retail. So if they're delivering that way and they go to distributors, which I know there will be some retailers that did a pledge and will have some stock in of the mix, you need to spend that year growing. So let's say you have 10,000 customers. When you offer something smaller, if you offer something smaller for the next one, like an expansion, you need to have the customer count grow to make that same money. So let's say it's $100. It's $100, you know what I mean? Where it was 150 to do the core game or whatever, you need to have 15,000 people as opposed to 10,000 people kick into it. So anyway, short story long, I think that they're in the discovery phase of what Trench Crusade can be. I think it's got tons of artistic merit. It's a very cool dark system for a very pointy end of the consumer base that's obviously super excited about it and super passionate about it. But once they have it in their hands, the kind of onus is on them to keep people excited about it and make a product that people can keep picking up and keep doing. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm super excited that they've done as well as they have. And there's obviously an appetite for that stuff out there, and they've done a good job doing the whatchamacallit. Doing the sort of grassroots building of the IP and stuff like that. Phoenix Insight says, follow-up question asked, I was meaning to ask you if you had Uncle Adam, when Uncle Adam visited, did you guys get a game in? No, we didn't get a game in. We just hung out and chatted for the day. He was here working for Army Painter, doing a presentation or something like that over at a trade show. And he just dropped by to talk. Terry House says, hello, fellow freeloaders and other more morally upstanding people. And then Jim Kerman says, it's the place to be while the world explodes. You guys are great. Phoenix Ignite says, also, I just finished your Brawl Machine vid. Haven't thought about Wormhordes in a minute. Yeah, so Jordan and I are working on the 2-player star set for Mark IV right now, and we'll hopefully in the next week or so get it all in, but he's also super excited about N5. Mike Forson's here. Jim Kerman said, games are talking about an actually cool preview show. Who'd have thunk it? Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the World Championship of Warhammer. because that is a thing that has been happening, which I think is very funny. Mostly because I didn't pay a huge amount of attention to it, but then I decided I was going to have a look because I couldn't help myself, just at like how it went at the end of it all. So yeah, so the final country standings, for Warhammer Underworlds, Italy came in first place with 32 tournament points, ahead of Canada in second, and the United States in third. So Canada represents second place in the world for Underworlds. In Kill Team, England was first, and second place was the United States, and third was Spain. Age of Sigmar was the United States with 29 points, and then Sweden, and then France. And then 40K winners were the United States with 39 points, Canada in second, and Italy in third. So interesting that the UK didn't even place in Warhammer 40K. I find that very, very fascinating. The race to be overall winners came across all systems in a close run-up thing, which is 6 points, separating first and third. So I did want to show the champions because I thought this was amazing. So the 40K champion is Folger Piles, and he looks like playing Custodes. So I'm sure Henry Cavill will be very excited about that. Also, weird that Custodes won. Feels like it's a slept-on army then a little bit, although I don't know shit about Warhammer 40,000 right now, so that's entirely possibly just the most common thing ever. But dude looks, like he's on a team. He's taking 40K seriously. It's kind of what I expected. The Underworld's champion, same thing. He's on a team, looks like to be expected. This is my favorite thing. Is one of these things is not like the other. Like these guys look like they play like hardcore, Warhammer Underworlds and stuff like that. I want you guys to see the Kill Team champion. He's a fucking hero. This is Dan Barton playing Warpcraft in Kill Team. I love him so much. He looks like he smokes 4 packs of cigarettes a day while downing a Mountain Dew, and is wearing a leopard coat and aviators in his championship photo. He's my favorite person. I didn't care about anything else. This is all I wanted to talk about, was Dan Barton being an absolute hero. And then Casper Torres Carlsmore looking exactly what I thought, an AOS champion would look like. One of these things is clearly not like the other, and it made me so fucking happy. Oh, he's a hero, an absolute hero. Dan Barton, shout out to you, man. Making Kill Team the greatest thing ever, simply through your absolute refusal to do anything that's like the common Warhammer 40,000 thing. It made me so happy. And then we also have the grand narrative, and I thought this was neat too. So this is something I got to hear a little bit about before it actually happened, which is they threw kind of like a carnival cruise for Wargamers this weekend, and they put a bunch of lights on it, which I think is cool. Like the fact that they had props and set design and like a whole lot of like characters all dressed up, I thought was neat. And the story basically was like how you unlock these MacGuffins. So they had all these named characters, a big mech, a chaos champion, a rogue trader, and everybody got to kind of like sit and watch it was like a LARP basically. They LARPed Warhammer 40,000. Everybody dressed up, characters like came in and out. They had a whole bunch of missions for it. And I think that's super cool. They made these cool artifacts and props and stuff that you unlocked to eventually get things out of them, like you had input codes by winning games. And when it was all said and done, the Lords of War took part in a bunch of games that could drop in and drop out. So there's the Rogue Trader, there's the Chaos Sorcerer, and there's the Big Mac. And the Big Mac's amazing. He's a big shirtless dude. And they made it all free to download. So you can actually play. I think Jay and I are going to play through these. All the operations. So there's 7 operations basically that you play through narratively. Look at all this stuff. There's this poor Grot that got burned alive. Just interesting, an interesting different bunch of events, because if you look at the side here, so this was the grand narrative. If we go back over to the World Championship and look at the blog posts, more from Atlantis, they have live blogs. And then all of the other things are like Meta Watch, just tons of MetaWatch articles. It's cool to see more narrative stuff be on the docket from Games Workshop, because honestly they need it. They need to not be talking about how to win games constantly. And I think that's just reacting to engagement. That's not actually trying to be something. They're not trying to tell a story. They're just trying to follow what people, are interested in and want to win. So yeah, that made me happy to see that. And then there's all the cool new releases, which also were very cool. The fact that they showed off a whole bunch of preview stuff. The miniatures are pretty cool. So we've got whatchamacallit. We've got the new these guys. Empire of Man coming back for the old world. Yay! So they're bringing back a bunch of old minis. I don't know. That feels kind of cynical to have in a preview. Like, I've already owned this miniature. It's a Karl Franz miniature that also makes a bunch of other things. This Empire Regiment miniature I've already owned. These are some old ass knights. Like, these knights are so old. These are 25-year-old miniatures. These came out in the 6th edition box set. They're bringing back all the Forge World resin. And then this is not... come on. Telling me that these are new horses when these are just the Luminarch horses? Get out of here. Like, these aren't new. How is this a preview? How is that a preview? That's not a preview. That's just available to order. But then they kind of made up for it with this. I do think the Deathcore Krieg box. I mean, I'm surprised these weren't out already because that Kill Team box was a while ago. You know what I mean? Like, that Kill Team box was like a real while ago. And they must have been sitting on these kits for years. I'm almost betting these kits have been sat on for at least 5 years. It's probably all got designed at the same time. And they're just finally getting around to releasing it with 10th edition. I will say this Marshall's friggin' horse. Those feet are not right. That is not a right horse. That is definitely not a horse, actually. That is something the mechanic has whipped up out of some like DNA they found in a tube. And they were like, give it different feet. These feet seem like they're real high maintenance. Let's breed it with some different feet. It's a cool model though. Like it's not a horse though. It's definitely not a horse. It's something that kind of looks like a horse. Then we got the Krieg themselves. Obviously some additional, like they've got like the Goliath little, like mobile bomb. I think a few of these things, like the command squad has a few different models in it that weren't available, like the grenade launcher. I don't think was in the previous kit. There's like that weird kind of trench shotgun-y looking grenade launcher. The auto pistol, that's a little on point there, guys, for what you're trying to be. I get it. And then a squad of brawlers, which I think is kind of neat. So you actually have like close combat troops in your army. I mean, it's obvious what aesthetic they're going for here, right? They're going for that Prussian First World War, rolling gun infantry, and they're cool. Like, they're very cool. I can see the appeal. I can understand why people are excited about them. This also feels like it's kind of a nothing burger because it's just like I love this miniature. This miniature is fantastic, but isn't this like do more? Do more Orc clans. Why just this guy? Although the Hobgrot miniatures are extremely old school and very cool. Like, I love that guy's back banner. I love the fact that they've brought back the late 80s orc aesthetic through these Hobgrots. So I'm not mad at it, but it's just like, this is all there is. This and some terrain kits and some endless spells. The endless spells are cool. Like the fact you got a foot of Gork that like steps and then it's like empty and full. They're neat, but then it's just all the old Iron Jaws stuff. And man, Jez Goodwin's got to be mad about this. Like, I'm excited for these miniatures, but also this means that we're at the end of some Jez Goodwin sculpts. Those old Phoenix Lords all getting replaced. Kind of makes me feel old, guys. I won't lie. This is making me feel like it's the end of an era. That Metal Azerman miniature's close to 30 years old, and he's finally getting resculpted. Not that Azerman miniature's not cool, but it's not Jez Goodwin cool. Same with this Bayeroth miniature. Man, at least they used his design. You know what I mean? At least they used his like design aesthetic for all these Phoenix Lords. And then we got this, the Warp Spider Phoenix Lord. Finally, after 25, 30 years, they've been promising to make this thing. My only question is, why does she have 6 eyes? Like, does she actually have 6 eyes? Is her head growing extra eyes? Does the Spirit Stone help her see through 6 different eyes? I don't know about that. Like, make them a different color so they're not actually like different eyes. It's a cool model though. It's nice. And then these finally getting resculpted. I think these are from 93 or 94. So 30 years old. The fact they were some of the oldest miniatures in the range and they're finally getting redone. It's pretty cool. Still not technically spiders because to be arachnids, they need to have 8 arms, guys. So like whip on one more set of arms there. And you'd be spiders. You're not actually spiders right now. You only got 6 legs. You're technically crustaceans. You're warp crustaceans, not spiders. Get it? Crustaceans? Yeah. I mean, who cares? It's 40K. Like, cool. I don't really care. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's just miniatures getting replaced. It's like seeing To me, it feels like seeing, I feel about as excited about it as I feel about seeing like the 2024 edition of my car drive by. Does that make sense? Like, where I'm like, oh, look, the 2024 like Volkswagen Tiguan, cool. Yeah, it's a slightly different shaped version of the car I already own. Hopefully the Intech manifold's made better than the one that I own, so it's not constantly exploding. Let's go to the chat and see what's up, and see what everybody's takes on my hot takes were. Tara Hale says, Meta Watch, my favorite. It's so rewarding to read it and should not at all be burned to the ground. Oh my God. Ooh, hot take. Kudos Budos here. Hola. How you doing, man? Chase Stromworks here. Acrylic Chemist is here. Who else have I not said hi to? Brian Krantz is finally here. Brian Krantz has finally made it. Why is Ash a meme? Because it's my favorite meme, and I just figured I'd put it on here for funsies. Jim Kerman says, just the nature of this show, a lot more close-ups in the minis, a lot less stupid lore and banter. Triple G Game says, I saw the conspiracy theory that the Krieg preview was a response to Trench Crusade. It definitely isn't. Man, it's definitely not a response to Trench Crusade. They are not paying any attention to what anyone else is doing. They're just too big. It's because it's where it would fit. Guaranteed. Like, the way they're releasing everything stacked on top of each other nowadays, the thing driving releases these days more and more is going to be how fast can they get it, how fast can they ship it out, and how fast can they get it out of the warehouse. Not what anyone else is doing. I guarantee you Trench Crusade and Krieg have nothing to do with each other. Like, announcing Trench Crusade, and like, here's the thing. There's going to be people that play Trench Crusade with Krieg miniatures. Why? Because it's just easier to get. Like, it at a certain point, once, like, between now and then, before the crowdfund delivers, people are just going to convert out of whatever and play it if they want to play it now. And then when the crowdfund shows up, it'll still probably be easier if, like, people are excited and playing it with their crowdfund stuff to get their friends to go buy Games Workshop minis to convert it to play. You know what I mean? Like, you can't necessarily get more of the stuff that showed up in the crowdfund right away unless you can find a retailer that also backed it. Triple Gauge Game says, are the shoehorning narrative content into tourney play or vice versa? No, it's a whole other event. They ran 2 parallel events in Atlanta. One was the World Championship and one was the Grand Narrative, and there's no crossover. You couldn't play in both. So one is purely 3 days of just being in a giant Warhammer LARP. And the other one is 3 days of like tournament games. Like, they're completely separate entities, basically, which I find really interesting that they ran basically a giant Warhammer LARP as opposed to just doing like tournaments, which I think is great. Yeah, I think that's great. That's fantastic. Why not have it for both? You know what I mean? Like, why not have a giant Warhammer LARP? The one thing I will say is by doing it for Warhammer 40K, you keep, and not doing it for any other game system, like you could have done it for AOS. Will they do it for AOS next year? Kind of doubt it. Kind of doubt anyone's showing up for an AOS LARP. You know what I mean? Like, if they expand it and do both, maybe, but then, like, are you robbing one to do the other? I'll be curious to see where this goes. But it does feel like the Disney cruise of, like, Warhammer events, and I hope they made a ton of money doing it and they do it again. But they clearly spent a ton of money on it too, because they got a lot of props and costumes. They spent like probably $100,000 on like cosplay shit just to have everybody like dressed up like that. That's a lot, man. That's a whole lot. Maybe next year they'll have the money to do a Space Marine. That'd be cool. Malev says, the thing about the Eldar resculpts is they honor the originals or proper gloves to the original designs. 100%. Like, absolutely. It's the end of an era. You know what I mean? And then Chet just knows that we are that old. Yeah, I know. Jim Kerman says the same thing. Newsflash, Ash, we are old. I know it's true. It's just funny that like that's the end of an era and also the end of like his, I guess the Falcon technically is still one of his designs. Because I know he helped and he did the concept work for it. It's like the Falcon. I'm trying to think of what else would be that old because the jet bikes got resculpted. I think that's it. I think it's the Eldar Falcon and that's all. Malev says, instead of the Primaris range having to be completely redesigned from the ground up because they can't replace OG sculpts. That's true. And then Brian Grant says, when it comes to Oldhammer, the 3D printer goes brr. I guess, yeah. You sure could. And then Justin says warp lobsters. They are warp lobsters. Ryan W 93 or 94, so they're 30 years old scalps. Ow, my back and knees just hurt. And then John Ashley Smith says Primaris Marines are nice and all, but make all my other old Marines redundant. So I only ever got 2 and they were given to me. That's really funny. Caldorf's here. And then Acrylic Emma says AOS LARP is called Holy Wars and Holy Havoc, which is done by the community. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that existed. And then John Ashley Smith says, I know people are still pissed about the change from 2nd to 3rd edition 40k, and it still stings after all these years. Yeah. And then Acrylic Emma says those are narrative tournaments out of Schaumburg, Illinois. Oh, interesting. It's like probably some of the same crowd that did Adepticon and probably still will. Greg Maddow says the Viper is Falcon old too. I don't know if the Viper is that old because the Falcon was still in 2nd edition. I don't think the Viper's in the 2nd edition codex. I could go grab it because it's in the other room, but I'm not going to leave the live stream. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else is that old, but I know like the Warp Spiders were the oldest miniatures for a long time. And it wasn't until 8th or 9th edition that they resculpted in plastic the Wraith Guard. The Wraith Guard were super old too, although not that old. Yeah, I don't know if the Viper's that old. Let's go to the mailbag and see what other questions I got from the patrons. We can get through all these. Matt F says, Ash, you're clearly a history nerd. Have you ever gotten into historical gaming, and would you consider it for GMG, or is the emphasis on science fiction and fantasy gaming sort of a GW brand now? When talking about value and creative freedom, I'd argue historical games usually offer more of both. 100%. My thing with historical gaming is, and this is going to sound, I have to kind of explain this. I will do historical gaming and I do historical gaming, if it has like a fantastical element to it. So I'm not super into glorifying certain historical periods. And also, unfortunately, doing certain historical periods comes with a bunch of baggage. Like just putting shit about World War II on the internet, no matter how benign I do it or historically accurate I do it, is just going to attract assholes to the comments. Doing modern shit is the same way. So I have to kind of mentally, for me, just to like not worry about that, I keep it to like, does it have zombies in it? Does it, you know what I mean? Does it have just a certain amount of crazy in it? Or fantastic elements in it? Because that way I know I'm not going to attract those people. Like I'm just not going to, because I don't want to deal with it. I want my Toy Soldiers shit to be Toy Soldiers shit. And so to keep the crazies out, I keep it in the realm of make-believe as much as possible. So if I do World War II stuff, it's going to have giant robots, it's going to have zombies and shit, because then who gives a fuck? It's not real. If I do, or I did like World War III, I did the Team Yankee thing, right? Because that's just made up. It's Red Dawn. You know what I mean? It's Red Dawn. Like it's just crazy fucking what ifs. And the same with like doing historical period stuff, like I did what's it called? Arena Rex. Right, because it's Ray Harryhausen gladiatorial combat with like crazy, fucking giant scorpions and shit like that. So like when you get into it, you don't have to worry really about the touchiness of history, and it's not that I can't be gray and nuanced and all that stuff and be like, no, this is a war game. Like my personal hobby can include all that stuff, but putting that shit on the internet is just inviting a bunch of nonsense that I just don't have. I don't emotionally and intellectually have the time for. So I do my historical gaming at home with friends, and I just don't put it on the internet. And if I do, I'll do stuff like when I did Mortal Gods with Les, which he's coming to do more of with me. He's going to bring in all the fantasy stuff, or like Saga Age of Magic, or, like just stuff where, or like Silver Bayonet, like stuff where you can engage with the period, but you don't have to fucking invite all the drama, and that's it. And the world is just too full of drama right now for me to want to have to even like walk that line. I just don't feel like it. I don't want it to be in my day. That's it. The next question. And I'm obviously a history nerd, and that's one of the reasons why I like doing historical gaming, and it keeps it just for me. Gary Jensen says, Ash, do you think that Trench Crusade is the type of game that will allow for emergent storytelling? I ask because it seems very defined, and that seems to me like the story has already been told. Can too much lore suffocate a game? I can't put my finger on it, but something seems static about the game. Any ideas? Oddly, I wrote this before seeing you discuss this in the video, which is funny. That is the thing with like artistic vision stuff, is the more sort of like basically think about it like a scene in a camera. The more specific the scene, the less stuff is occurring off camera, and the more you have to explain why things are happening to make it make sense, the less room there is for my interpretation of things. Now, that being said, you can still express yourself in something like that, where the artistic sort of like creation is very defined by having your own paint scheme, your own, like, you can pick little bits and pieces of narrative, but I think the difference is you're not buying Lego pieces in this case. You're buying someone's like pre-made model kit. And that is one of the things that happens when you get to these like 3D printing kind of games. It's great if you want to immerse yourself in something. It's a little less possible, I guess, to express yourself through something. And that's totally fine, because I'll be honest, most people, Gary, most people don't have time. I honestly think that the push towards like mono pose, mono build, you can only make the kit one way stuff is about broadening the on-ramp to consumers who want to be entertained, not create their own entertainment. And that's just the only downside to that is you'll have less people entering the industry. You'll have less people that are creative types becoming more creative through the experience of their hobby because they got to express themselves. The ones that will are the ones that couldn't help it, right? Like, you're called to it, but you won't necessarily learn it from the experience anymore. Whereas I think some people who started off just wanting to be entertained discovered they liked expressing themselves through hobby. So Trench Crusade, I think, is just more on the other end of the spectrum of, here's this unique, very specific art thing that we made. Enjoy it and paint it and appreciate it for what it is and look at it and appreciate it, versus like, I think the roots of the movement that they're selling to, that like hashtag 28, is actually more about expressionism. So I think oddly, they have more customers that come from the other place and they've made a product for them. And yet the offer is going to actually be for the people that didn't want to be hashtag 28 people but wanted to take part in that. So I think you'll have more people that aren't from that 28 sort of like conversion crowd participating in Trench Crusade, because this is their door into that hobby without having to be that kind of creative. Which means it's, I think, a valuable product for that kind of dark fantasy, dark science fiction universe, because it's going to get more people exposed to it. Maybe some of them will decide that they want to make something for themselves. Who knows? All right, I think we're into the last mailbag question. So tab back and forth so I can see the chat here. Second last, somebody just added one, actually. Steve Yates says, when you did the warehouse tour, did you rush past the shelving of all your old game books? Would you consider a video showing all the different game books and editions you have, or a selection of your collection? Maybe highlights or ones that you have the best memories of playing. Having kind of restructured the way I'm doing the live streams today, which you guys may have noticed. It's funny because the patrons have never seen this either. I sat down, I spent an hour as I was getting ready for the live stream being like, I want to do something new, because that's how novelty is how I engage my neurotransmitters. So, yes, I could absolutely do that. I could pre-record it and take some pictures and we could talk about that. Maybe that's what I'll do. Steve, is I'll go take pictures of like the bookshelves, and that way I can make sure I don't accidentally show anything you guys aren't supposed to see, which can occasionally happen and I have to be careful with. I won't accidentally show you guys anything that's not supposed to happen. And then, yes, and then we can chat about that for the next live show on Wednesday next week. And then Gene, and remind me, Steve. No, you don't have to remind me. We'll just leave that question. Here's what we'll do is, guys, if you clean up the questionnaire, don't change Steve's question, because I look at these questions before I start the live show, and that way I'll remember to do it, because otherwise I will absolutely forget to do it. Gene Dean 29 says, vibing off the historical stuff that's not historical, does Armored Clash look like a game that will last for a while, or did the box set kind of feel like a one-shot Lord of the Rings release that I could never get my hands on? No, it's going to be around for a while. War Cradle's a distributor, so it's funny because companies don't know what I am, especially factories in China. I get so much like, one of the reasons I'm so bad at answering email and inbox questionnaires, and this is just a apology to everyone who's ever trying to get in touch with me, is I am drowning in offers from like board game factories, component manufacturers, printing companies, people soliciting me to like make the next game that I want to make or do what, like, I just get emails constantly and stuff just gets lost because I can't tell sometimes what's a solicitation and what's an actual like message. But, and the reason I'm saying this is I'm on War Cradle's distribution mailing list as if I'm a retail store. So I get emails from War Cradle constantly. They're not going anywhere. They're doing just fine distributing their products right now in the the UK. So yeah, you can safely, I think, buy some Armored Clash and be fine. And they've got 10 factions to come out with. And they're one player starters. So if you guys have, like, if you guys didn't see, so hang on, let me just show you again the picture. This will probably make it make more sense. If I show this back off, if I show you guys the picture of like that half of the starter set that I had. So this is the crown half of the starter sets, the entire, like that half. It's everything that comes for the crown and then half of what the player assets are in that box set. So it's half the buildings. It's half the, it's one of the 2 measuring gauges, one of the 2 turning templates, 2 of the 4 token sets, and 1 of the objective markers, and then 2 frames of buildings because there's 4 buildings total. And then this is half of what the 1 player starter is for the crown. So if you buy the crown starter set, you actually get everything in this picture, including the buildings. And then you get the quick start rulebook, you get the stats for the models, you get 4 tanks, 4 transports, 8 of the armored suits, 4 of the big field guns, 8 of the little field guns, 10 of the cavalry, 12 of the infantry, and then 8 each of the pioneers and the marksmen. So you get roughly 1,600 points. And I think it comes with the land battleship too, which is like 500 points. So you get a full 2,000 point army in that 1 player starter set. And they're planning on doing one for every single faction. Plus you get the dice, the templates, the tokens, like everything. So it's one of those things where like you kind of buy it once and you have everything. And then you can just play all the different factions. And it's all hard styrene GW plastic. Like the whole thing is just hard styrene GW plastic. So even if you don't buy the 2 player starter set, which is basically half of 2 1-player starter sets put together. It's half the Empire and half the Crown starter sets put together. You can easily play with whatever you want. And they're planning on doing 10 of these over time. So you might see another 2-player starter and then eventually like other 1-player starters, but they've got at least, if they do 1 a year or 2 a year, you've probably got like 4 years worth of releases. And I can't play a game for more than 4 years before I get getting bored anyway and want to try a different game system. So I think you'd be fine to invest in it. You'd be more than comfortable with the amount of time you got out of the fun, I think. Yeah. And then Gil Edgar's here. He said, good point on the historical stuff, Ash. Well, thank you. And then Tobias Newman says, revisit Dracula's America would be great. I do need to do that because I need to do the Cthulhu expansion for that game at some point. And I love me some Dracula's America. That's a game. It's an underrated game where I think they did what they wanted to do. They wrote the expansion they wanted to write, and it's kind of just sitting right now. I'll be interested to see what happens with it. And then Jeannie says, yeah, there's a lot more red flags in the historical communities. Yeah, it's just one of those things where like I dipped my toes in early on and then was just instantly like, I don't have time for this. I just don't have time for this fucking nonsense. It's just not like, if you bring that into your tabletop hobby, man, you are wasting your fucking time because you're just sweating about shit you're sweating about in real life. And you're also bringing it into your free time. Like, don't do that. It's so stupid. And then Chet says, I love being pre-shot because I own Tiger tanks. I mean, I think the only functioning Tiger tank is in the UK right now, which is very funny. And then Self32 says Carthage bros are the worst. To be fair, there's a lot of dudes that have Spartan memes that I would not want to hang out with in real life. A lot of gym bros with like Spartan or SPQR tattoos where I'm just like, oh my God, I don't have fucking time for you. They're the kind of guys at the gym that don't take the weights off the machine and are always constantly filming themselves. I have zero fucking time for that. Jezan says, talking about historical-ish, but fantasy, have you tried Devilry Afoot yet? I haven't. Thank you for reminding me about that. I'm going to write that down in my... You know what I'm going to do? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this in the chat more often, guys, because I have the brain of a squirrel and also 2 small children. And... you know, all the things that come from being a single dad. I'm just gonna start a page. My entire life is driven off of notebooks, and so these like notebooks and planners. I gotta get a new planner. Right now, my entire life ends on the 31st of December because I haven't gone to the bookstore to get a new planner. I'm going to games to dig into. I need to get a list of all the self-published games that I haven't had a look at yet. Devilry Afoot. I'm going to write down who mentioned it too. Jez Hunt, Devilry Afoot. Because these come, I look at them and then I'm instantly like, I just forget 5 minutes after the live show ends. And then Cell3205 says, please do turn up 28. I've been meaning to talk to Max forever about Turnip 28, and it just keeps being one of those things where actually the game I was going to do in that vein is called Lobster Pot, and I actually printed it off. I love Lobster Pot. It's like such a small form game. But yeah, it is one of those ones where I definitely want to try it. And I still have to do shit. I still have to do Mike's game. Something Wood. Verret Wood. I still need to do Verret Wood, the cult game. See, I had all these games like lined up for Spooktober, and then we totally ran out of time in Spooktober. All right. Colin Morrison says, hi, Ash. What do you think of Workrow Adventures? Remember we did a vid on it a while ago. Kickstarter arrived last week, and apologies if you answered this already. I finally have enough stuff for that game to play like a proper game of it. So I'm going to reserve my comments on Workrow Adventures now that I have more than the starter set to play with. So look forward to that being one of my holiday adventures that I'm going to be doing. And then why haven't I gotten into 3D printing? Poodles with Guns asked. I have a 3D printer. I have a very nice Elegoo 3D printer. I used it to collaborate with people to write games. 3D printers are like, so here's something that is probably obvious about me, but I got a touch of the, just a touch of the oppositional defiance disorder. Where when someone's really into something, I want nothing to do with it. And so the fact that 3D printers get evangelized like Bitcoin instantly makes me look at them and go like, I just don't care. I don't like, it's just more work for my work. It's just a different kind of assembling miniatures. And I think that like the fact that I have all, like the fact that I have 35, Jesus, more than that now. 88, 12 plus 20, 36 years of miniatures, you know what I mean? To do things with, and that are like on my like to-do list. It just means that like having a portal into unlimited miniatures doesn't do anything for me. It's been great for indie game. Like what I use my 3D printer for is when I need a very specific Joe McCullough monster. When Joe fucking does me in because he's like, no, you need to have a zombie camel. And I'm like, what? Joe, are you playing a game with me? Are you playing with my emotions? And then I get out the 3D printer and I'm like, okay, zombie can't, someone must have made something for this, or a camel that I could like kind of zhuzh up to make a zombie camel. Like, and that's what I use it for. Or like Jay and I do like a D&D adventure and we need some kind of extra weirdo thing that we need to print out. But here's the thing I don't, and like, I love 3D printing for the point of view of like an expressive for an artist. Like, one of the things that made me the happiest in the last 6 months is how successful Mike from Epic Duck's been with his like ducks. The fact that he found the Venn diagram in between Space Marines and Jeep owners, and that apparently could make him a bunch of money so that he could hang out and sculpt and do fun things, right? Like that's it. To me, it's just another way of delivering to people your artistic expression. Yeah, he did his Earthworm Jim. Actually, the Earthworm Jim thing that Mike sculpted pissed me off because so many people stole the image off his Instagram and reposted it as if it was their own. So like, I think that Instagram picture had like 345 like likes on Instagram or something like that from his account. And then like I wake up and some 40K Facebook group I'm in called like the Imperium of Man is his picture uncredited with like 12,000 likes. And I'm like, fuck right. I fucking hate social media. I hate that people just take other people's art and post it like they own it. It just fucking makes me so mad. Makes me so mad. And then Split Infinity said 3D printers are like owning a boat. It's better to know someone with one than own one yourself. Yeah. So, and the last part about 3D printers is for me, I'm not trying to fuck anybody over. I don't have any man I'm trying to fight against by never paying for a miniature again. And I like a good 3/4 of the people in my life who are my friends are gainfully employed in the miniature wargaming industry. And while I understand voting with your money, I don't understand evangelizing fucking over an entire industry worth of people. Because as much as you can hate a corporation, corporations aren't people, right? You can not like what they do, but remember that that's not a person. That's a group of people who are all gamefully employed, most of which have no idea that you exist or that they're doing something that hurt your feelings, and like wishing ill on, and also it trickle down affects other people at the bottom that are just trying to make a living, right? So that sentiment really bothers me, and I don't like it. And Mizo Mizo's here. Hello, Mizo Mizo. Hey, Ash, what games are you the most enjoying at the moment? Apologies if I missed it, but what are your thoughts on Trench Crusade? Everyone's asking about Trench Crusade today. Yeah. So I answered the Trench Crusade question about 7 times. Mine is I'm super happy for them. Like, in short, I'm super happy for them. I think they're going to find what the future is for them in the next year as they go through the process of both like delivering and planning their next release. And yeah, the best analog for where they'll be at in 5 years is probably going to be Kingdom Death, right? They're going to be like Kingdom Death. They're going to be a very artistically like powerful thing that has figured out its kind of like place in the hobby sphere. Midgard. Liam Fishwick said Midgard, Dark Age, fantastical. All right, guys, I'll write it down. Maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe that's what we'll do on Wednesday next week, guys, is we'll go through, now that I've figured out how to properly do this, and I'll go through this list of things and we'll look at the games together. Would that be fun? Would that be something the patrons like to do? We'll grab a bunch of these. I can grab a bunch of these, indie games, and we can like look at them together and do like little mini, like not like a GMG review, but like a little mini thing. Casey Rogers, Curse Breaker, and Hobgoblin are both on my radar. I got to do the review of Hobgoblin. Now that it's out and delivered, I can review the book and show it off to people because I believe they can buy it now. So I want to help out Greg and Mike with having Hobgoblin get in front of more people. Midgard. But I'm planning on doing, I'm also planning on doing a, my top 3 like 2-player star sets of 2024, because I'm gonna start doing lists again, and so doing lists of like the top 2024 things I think are a big thing. 5150 from 2 Hour War Games. Oh, Greg, as if I haven't played 5150. I love when Greg comes around with like, Greg, for you guys who don't know in the chat, Greg's the one who came in with Car Wars for us to play, which I absolutely loved. Greg, that was one of the most fun things I think I've done this year, is playing that Car Wars game, because it's just such an anachronism, and I definitely 5150 is of the same kind of era. Slightly newer, but like it's a classic of the indie game spheres. All right, going through the chat to the end. I want to check the mailbag one more time, just make sure somebody didn't put it, because we're around in the corner and I'm starting to run out of water and my throat's getting super dry. No, we got nothing left in the mailbag, so I'm going to delete these ones. I'm going to leave Steve's question so I can remember the book tour thing. And then, yeah, maybe next week on Wednesday, what we'll do is we'll go through a bunch of these. We'll go through Devilry Afoot, Lobsterbot, Turnip 28, Verretwood, Midgard. I'll do 5152 for you, Greg. 5150. We'll go on a War Games Vault adventure together and look through all these games so you guys can see what's up. I don't know who is Gene Dean answering? How do you people play all these games? Gene Dean just said Triple G games, cocaine, lots and lots of cocaine. Don't forget the leeches. There was some game company that was talking to Jay on Instagram the other day, and they were going back and forth. I can't remember what it was about, but it was Mark at Schooner Labs was talking about something he had, and he was asking Jay where he get leeches and cocaine, and Jay was just like, "Well, I know where you can get the cocaine. I don't know where you can get the leeches." Oh my god, so funny. And then Gene says, I want to see all your Vor. I do have a bunch of Vor the Maelstrom stuff. I painted my Union. I never painted my Neo-Soviets. I still have a bunch of Vor the Maelstrom novels too. Which I could definitely do. All right. Poodles the Gun says, I'm not trying to fuck anyone by printing off non-GW minis, but for games like Arsenal and DBL, I love that new segment of print and play games. Oh no, definitely. and I'm not accusing anyone of that, but like just the fact that there's a meme, 3D printer goes burr, is literally a meme referencing, yeah, well, fuck you, I'm not paying the money for that. You know what I mean? My 3D printer goes burr. Like that's what that meme means. When someone says 3D printer goes burr, it means fuck you, I won't pay you. I'll just print your Custodes. I'll just print your AOS. I'll print your new release. Like in 2 months, like I haven't in the last 5 years seen a new release come out from Games Workshop without the weekend after seeing some 3D printer Patreons version of that new release post their files, right? That is the most common thing to happen right now. It's just, it's an industry now of doing knockoff. Like fucking Mini Wargaming made like $1 million doing it with board game plastic. You know, they did their Shattered Star thing, which is not really a game. Like it kind of is a game. It's their knockoff Games Workshop minis. Like there's an industry behind making knockoff Games Workshop minis for cheaper dollars and or printing STLs. Like it's just become what it is. Oh, Dan Fox says this Course War. I should talk to Hudson actually, because I've loved the core stuff. The core stuff's been around for like 20 years. You have to understand, like the core miniatures in metal are some of the first indie metal miniatures I think I ever bought off the internet. And the fact that War Games is doing it now is fantastic. This Coors War, which is funny because this Coors War was always like one of those. I loved the artistic aesthetic of it. Greg says, I have all my full thrust models if you want to go old school. We should play some Gropos as well. We could play the Babylon 5 version of Epic. Greg just excited to see how deep this rabbit hole goes with me, that how far I'm willing to crash the plane. Jim Grimman says, John Ashley Smith, we can't get all logical about our piles of minis or I wouldn't be able to buy any of the new Steel Rift robots in the near future. That's fair. What else we got? Jess says, Midgard has beautiful art by John Hodgson's of Handiwork Games. He did One Ring First Edition, Warhammer Ancient Shield Wall, Beowulf, Masters of Forgotten Doggerland, and those are lovely background image books. Fantastic. Jess says, yes, I might have started the leeches thing on his Instagram. That's so funny. Leeches and cocaine thing. Just leaned right into it. SK Roberts says, we still need to lean into full spectrum dominance. Oh shit, Bob was just telling me about that. Bob knows the guy that makes that. And when he was in here messaged me about it. Cause when he was in here doing Armored Clash with me, Rob, I'm just going to put Rob/Bob. I love that you're both Robs. There's Rob, Bob, Rob. You're both Roberts. Makes me really happy. And that you both are interested in the same game. And you guys could not physically be more different human beings. Full spectrum dominance. It's like the bizarro versions of each other. Yeah, but Bob wanted to come in and do full spectrum. Also, Bob, if you're watching, buddy, I hope you're feeling better. And that you're doing well. Greg says, you still owe me a Grunts game. I do still owe you a Grunts game. That's funny. Two Robs maker. Hey, Rob said, all right, Ryan Dunphy's $5 super chat. Hey, this is a reminder to check out the Patreon, especially if you like this stream, because you get 3 times more of them. Ash is bad at self-promotion. I truly am. And we're also technically done right now. So yes, I got the FSD creator on Facebook. Super nice person. I don't know what that means. Hey, we're done. Fantastic. We're done. I think this is it. It's 2:00. I'm getting really thirsty. And I hate feeling like you can hear me drinking, like, or swallowing. I feel like that's gross, so I don't want to do it. But yes, I think this is it. So let's talk about what's coming up. How do I close these shows? Oh yeah, what's coming up this week? So next week, obviously on Wednesday, we're going to do the patron AMA. It's a Monday and a Wednesday next week though, because we alternate, right, back and forth. And somehow it still always lines up that the last Monday of every month, I still manage to get the FREE-PISODE on a Monday, which is great. I haven't had to like change it around ever. So what we'll do is, I'm going to pick 4 or 5 of these, or maybe I'll put up a poll and I'll pick 4 or 5 of these and we'll do a live show where we like do a sneak peek. We'll like peel through them and see what they look like. And we're going to do like War Games Vault ones. So like Devil Eat Foot, Lobster Part, Turn 28, Verret Woods, Midgard, I'll take a look at. I'm not going to do Coors War 5150 or Full Spectrum Dominance because I already got plans for those, and also the other ones are super old. So we're going to look at new things instead. Jim Kerman says, any more Spearheads coming? Yes, there is a bunch of Spearheads coming. I have the game with Mike that comes out this week, along with 2 more Spear tips that you guys get to watch for the Caradron Overlords and the Skaven. So we did Spear tips for those. So 3 episodes of that dropping on Wednesday. Another Legions Imperialis coming out soon. And then Chase is coming in. He finished painting his Sons of Bahamut Spearhead, so we can do a Spear tips on that as well, which I'm super pumped for. Bob is also currently mostly done painting the Bonermancers. What are they called? You know, the Nagashi Legions, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I don't know why I call them Bonermancers, but it's just a better name. Obviously, it's just a better name. So yeah, so there's a bunch more of that stuff happening in the near future. And then Wednesday's more Legions Imperialis. We also have, oh, somebody asked me N5 when the game's out. Like, I'll be honest, I'm a bit frustrated because both, like, we set the date to the 18th. I booked 2 days of recording. I basically lost 2 days of work because they moved the date, and I'm really frustrated about it because I was really excited to do that. And then it got moved and we don't know when it's coming out. So I'm a bit frustrated with N5 right now, not because I'm not excited about the game, but just because, like, this is super unlike Corvus Belli to be this off with a release, and it definitely fucked up my work week and meant I was going to be short content. So I had to move a bunch of things around. And kind of scramble for what we're going to do. Yes, but N5 is whenever N5 comes out. And also, like, Owen and Dan and I were putting aside time to do the podcast and stuff too, and it just didn't happen. So I guess we'll see when that comes around. Hopefully it comes around soon. I know they said before Christmas, so I don't know what that means. Whenever that comes out, it will come out, and I will be playing it with my Fennec right away, and then painting some new stuff to release, or new releases to go along with it too. Also, Rob and I were talking about doing more Blackout. The guys at Enemy Spotted Studios were super excited about it, apparently, and reached out to him. So I'm super happy that went well. I think there's more Blackout this week. What's on the schedule this week? I should look at the calendar. Oh no, I don't want to do that because then the chat goes away. Damn it. I can't look at the screen. Oh no, I can pull it out. I can go like that. And you guys will keep the chat, and then I'll be able to look at it on the screen. I forgot that when I change screens now to my calendar, it will not let me see things otherwise. This week is clicking today. Oh, why is it not loading? I'm trying to see what's coming out this week. I did Blackout already. Oh, it's Blackout tomorrow. Kill Team the day after. Oh yeah, Blackout tomorrow, Kill Team the day after. Spearheads is next week, actually. There's another Kill Team game with Jay. And the Legions Imperialis. Yeah. I've got those 3 this week. Yes. And then more Armored Clash on Friday. So the next 4 days will be Blackout, Kill Team with Jay, playing some just crit ops, and then more Legions Imperialis, and then more Armored Clash is the next 4 things you guys have to look forward to. I'm excited about that. Paul Kasazian says, Ash, just wanted to send you some support. Your Void Admiral series has been a huge rebuild in my community. Oh my God, thank you, dude. That's crazy. That's so nice of you. I'm so happy that worked out. Bob and I had such a good time playing Void Admiral and finishing up. Bob and I have like 3 things on the go right now. And the Armored Clash was basically, we had Void Admiral videos stacked up. So we decided to do that in between. And then we have Spearhead and Armored Clash, and finishing the Void Admiral are basically like we're rounding out the year with those 3 things. So I'm super happy that worked. And then Jesson says, Paint Table and Grimdark Meteor are both superb. Aw, thank you. I also miss my On the Paint Table content. So here's my plan for On the Paint Table, guys. I might do it as a live show. I might start doing it like this now that I just take still images of everything and show you guys on the Paint Table in like a chat. So I think I'll make it patron only. So I think On the Paint Table is going to change into something different because I've been trying to figure out how to show you, like, this whole thing was kind of an experiment on what that would look like. And I think that's probably where it's going to go. Cause then I can so one of the things On the Paint Table, pre-recording it, I would kind of talk about how I did things. And then people would ask me questions in the comments and I'd go and answer them. It feels like it would be better for people to do, and maybe I could do on the paint table kind of like this, where I do 3 a month that are patrons only, and then I do 1 a month that's like a free episode. So on a Saturday we sit down and I go through and I answer questions with everybody, because that way like I can answer in real time and get a little bit more descriptive. Like I was trying to figure out how to make them better than just talking about how to do things. And like I would get all these questions in the past too of like, well, hey, how did you do this thing that I see on your table now? And I'd have to refer back to like an H on the paint table video. It feels like there's just like a better way of doing it. No, I don't want to do a paint along. I just want to take like still images and show them to you guys. Feels like it would be way better and just work out better. Yes, I'm trying to figure out how to incorporate you guys and this stuff more and more often. So yeah, I think that's it. That's the rest of this week. Oh, and we could do a patron watch along of Ghost Ship. Fuck. We could do movie night just like this, actually. Maybe we should do a movie night. Maybe Jay and I could do, because we could definitely do. We could absolutely do we could do a We Just Watched live of like Ghost Ship. We could do like a movie once a month this way, actually. There's a not zero chance of me doing that, where we just do like a 3, 2, 1 and we all hit play at the same time. I could definitely do that. All right, let's think about how we're going to do that. Let's think about how we're going to do Ghost Ship. Maybe what we do is we do like a theme, and like we do like a different bunch of We Just Watched where like the theme is ships. So we could do like Event Horizon, Ghost Ship, Last Voyage of the Demeter, and then like what's another good boat movie? What's the one with Mads Mikkelsen where he's got one eye and he's a Viking? You do that one, Ragnarok or whatever it was called. Yeah, something like that, like a paint along where we sit in hobby and like watch a bad movie. Best bad movie night. There's a bunch of things we could do with that. Anyway, here's me free associating now after I ended this video 10 minutes ago. I think that's probably exactly the thing that will give you guys the best insight into what being a patron's like. So anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out today. And for those of you who've never caught this before, hanging out in the chat and asking questions. And I hope this was enlightening as to what the live shows are like. And I will see all of you patrons on Patreon on Wednesday, where we're going to go through a bunch of indie games. We're going to do Indie Game Wednesday. Yeah, I like that idea. And we'll still do a mailbag and stuff like that too. But that way we've got like our pre-populated like talking points where we're going to talk about, and we'll do more of that. And then we'll set up whatever the next live show is going to be the weekend after, or the week after, for the following Monday. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks to everybody with the super chats. Holy crap. That's a huge, that's just huge. You guys are the best. And I'll see you guys who are patrons on Wednesday. And for the rest of you, I'll see you next month. It is always the last Monday of the month. And you guys can catch the next free episode and ask me what's been going on each month and what's coming out. Until then, which is going to be like the last one of 2024. Have a great day and happy wargaming.